Have you ever, actually tried to visualize a million people?
Oh, it's surprisingly difficult.
Right. It really is. We usually just default to something familiar, like a completely packed sports stadium.
Yeah, exactly.
You imagine standing out there on the pitch, surrounded by, what, maybe 100,000 people yelling?
If it's a massive stadium, yeah, sure.
And so to get to a million, you have to picture 10 of those deafening stadiums just, sitting side by side.
Which is where it pushes the boundary of what the human brain can even process as a single group.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that point, the crowd just stops being individuals. It sort of just becomes this abstract concept of mass.
Yeah, totally abstract. Which is exactly what makes the report you sent us for today's deep dive so fascinating to unpack.
It really is a crazy document.
Right. So we're looking at this excerpt from 2026, and it's titled Top 10 Footballers with Most Followers in Social Media.
Mm-hmm.
But the focus isn't on a million people. Or, even 10 million people.
Not even close.
No. We are looking at an audience scale that basically shatters any physical metaphor we could possibly come up with.
Absolutely shatters it.
Because the absolute pinnacle of this list, we're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo here,
Right.
He holds a title that kind of challenges our basic understanding of modern influence. I mean, the source material points out this mind-bending fact: he isn't just the most followed athlete.
It's way bigger than sports.
Exactly. According to the data, he is the most followed person across every single sport, every single profession in the entire world.
Which is just wild to think about.
Yeah.
It really challenges our assumptions about, who holds cultural leverage today.
Yeah, for sure.
Because when we think of, the most followed human on Earth, the logical assumption is someone whose primary job involves mass cultural broadcasting.
Right, like a global pop icon or...
Yeah, a Taylor Swift type or a massive Hollywood actor, maybe a really major political figure.
Mm-hmm. People who are professionally engineered to, capture that universal zeitgeist.
Exactly. But here we are talking about someone whose foundational profession, his actual day job, takes place on a rectangular patch of grass for 90 minutes a week.
Right. Kicking a ball.
Kicking a ball. But, to write this off as just a byproduct of being really good at a popular sport would be missing the entire point of the data you shared with us.
Oh, completely. Which brings us to the mission for today. Today, we aren't just going to rattle off his follower counts and call it a day.
No, that would be boring.
Yeah, exactly. We are going to look under the hood of this whole phenomenon. We're going to unpack the anatomy of a modern digital empire and really examine how an athlete's, relentless discipline on the pitch translates into this unprecedented global reach online.
And, the word empire, it really isn't an overstatement here.
Not at all.
The source material frames this outcome as a highly engineered reality. It basically treats his follower count not as some scoreboard of his popularity, but as a deliberately constructed piece of media infrastructure.
Well, let's look at the raw architecture of that infrastructure then. Because the numbers from this 2026 report are they're staggering.
They really are.
He carries roughly 671 million followers on Instagram.
Just massive.
Yeah, and to support that, he's got about 171 million on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And then somewhere between 105 and 113 million on X, or, formerly Twitter.
Right. And I think the distribution across those platforms is the first big indicator that we're looking at a very strategic operation.
How so?
Well, it's not just a scattershot approach to fame,
Yeah.
right? It's highly targeted.
Yeah, I want to actually linger on that Instagram number for a second, because 671 million is a figure that requires some serious grounding to even comprehend.
Yeah, it's hard to visualize.
Right, we usually compare these things to populations. We say, oh, it's double the size of the United States, or it's the size of a whole continent.
Which is true, but still abstract.
Exactly. So let's look at it through the lens of human attention. Think about this. If every single one of those 671 million followers spent just one solitary second looking at a single photo he posts.
Oh, wow.
Just 1 second. That represents over 21 years of cumulative human attention harvested in a single moment.
That is a phenomenal way to frame it.
It's terrifying, honestly.
It kind of is. You're talking about a centralization of cognitive bandwidth that historically was only achievable by state-run media during a national crisis.
Right.
Or a major broadcast network during the moon landing. And now it is literally commanded by one individual holding a smartphone.
Which forces a total reevaluation of his actual job description, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, with a mechanism that powerful, is he even functioning primarily as an athlete anymore, or has he effectively transcended into, like, a standalone media conglomerate that just happens to use football as its marketing arm?
The data strongly suggests the latter, honestly. I mean, look at how heavily weighted that portfolio is toward Instagram.
Yeah, almost 700 million.
Right, on a purely visual platform. Compared to a fraction of that on text-heavy or community-based platforms like X.
Hmm.
The report explicitly points out that this specific distribution is no accident.
Why Instagram specifically, though?
Because Instagram is this aesthetic, aspirational medium. It literally rewards physical perfection, high-end production value, and curated lifestyle imagery.
Oh, I see.
And for an athlete whose entire personal brand is built around physical optimization and dynamic movement, Instagram isn't just a platform.
Right.
It is the ultimate leverage point for his specific archetype.
So he optimized for the environment that best rewards what he naturally outputs.
Precisely. It's highly deliberate.
But, okay, if we pull back from the platforms for a second and look at the actual map, things get really complicated.
How do you mean?
Well, the sheer size of his audience naturally demands the question, where are all these people coming from?
Right. They can't all be from Europe.
Exactly. And the report explicitly outlines his audience spread. We're talking Europe, Asia, America, and the Middle East. It is a truly borderless global footprint.
Which is so rare. Reaching that level of market saturation across those specific regions is notoriously difficult.
Yeah.
Cultural translation is one of the hardest hurdles for any global entity.
And this is where I have to push back a little on the inevitability of his success here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because we have seen major public figures, global politicians, universally beloved entertainers fail at this exact hurdle.
Oh, all the time.
Humor doesn't cross every border, right?
Really not.
Political stances certainly don't. And even just basic lifestyle aspirations are vastly different in, say, Tokyo compared to Riyadh or London compared to Rio.
Right. The cultural values are completely different.
Exactly. So how does one individual maintain an active daily grip on all of those distinct cultural spheres simultaneously without alienating one to please the other?
It's a great question. And the solution really lies in bypassing nuanced cultural translation altogether.
Bypassing it. How?
By operating entirely within the universal language of sport and excellence. He relies on a fundamentally elemental narrative.
Oh, I think I see where you're going.
Yeah, I mean, a perfectly executed free kick doesn't require localized subtitles, right?
That's true.
The archetype of extreme hard work, the physical manifestation of victory, these things bypass regional sensibilities. They tap directly into universal human psychology.
Okay, I understand the universal appeal of the sport itself. Like, a goal is a goal everywhere.
Exactly.
But a significant portion of his feed isn't just football. It's a display of immense, almost incomprehensible wealth.
Oh, yeah. The luxury aspect is huge.
We're talking private jets, hyper-luxurious vacations, bespoke watches. How does he broadcast that level of ultimate luxury without alienating, working-class fans in developing markets?
It's tricky, right?
Yeah, because usually flashing that kind of wealth breeds resentment, not loyalty.
That is the critical tension of his brand. And honestly, how he resolves it is brilliant.
Tell me.
He doesn't present his wealth as unearned privilege. He presents it as the direct, tangible reward for the physical suffering and discipline he showcases on the pitch.
Ah.
It's meritocratic luxury.
Meritocratic luxury. I like that phrase.
Right. When a fan in a developing market looks at the private jet, they aren't seeing some detached aristocrat who inherited his money.
Because that same feed shows the brutal gym sessions.
Exactly. The relentless training is right next to the yacht. So the luxury is perceived as the hero's reward. He basically validates the universal dream that extreme hard work yields extreme results.
So he connects the grind to the glory so clearly that you basically can't resent the glory without denying the grind.
That is perfectly said, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. But to maintain that delicate psychological balance for nearly 1 billion people day after day, I mean, the actual content has to be meticulously controlled.
Oh, you don't hold the attention of that many people with a chaotic or impulsive social media strategy.
Definitely not.
The feed has to be a highly regulated environment.
And the 2026 report actually lays out this architecture really clearly.
It does.
It identifies 4 distinct content pillars that he uses to basically carry the weight of this empire. We've got training sessions, family life, brand endorsements, and match updates.
Those 4 pillars operate like a perfectly balanced ecosystem.
Mm.
If you remove any one of them, the entire structure becomes incredibly vulnerable.
It really operates like a meticulously programmed television network.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Think about it. You have the live sports broadcasting channel, which gives you the match updates.
Right.
You have the gritty behind-the-scenes documentary channel with the training sessions.
Mm-hmm.
You have the reality television aspect with the family life. And the entire operation is basically funded by the commercial breaks of his brand endorsements.
Yeah, it's a brilliant mix. And what's vital to understand about that network programming is how the algorithm and human psychology interact with it.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Well, the MASH updates and training sessions provide high engagement, aspirational content.
Right, the hero stuff.
Exactly. But aspiration alone is actually quite cold. If his feed was entirely composed of him just breaking records and lifting crazy weights, he would be perceived as a machine.
Yeah, untouchable.
Respected, absolutely.
Yeah.
But fundamentally distant from the audience.
Which is where the family life pillar comes in, right?
Yeah.
Does that serve as a strategic tool to disrupt that distance and kind of humanize him?
Precisely. Introducing his children, his partner, and those quiet moments at home, it hacks human psychology through something called parasocial interaction.
Parasocial interaction.
Right. When the human brain is repeatedly exposed to intimate, informal visual updates of a person's private life, it basically begins to process that public figure using the exact same neural pathways it uses for real-world friends.
Oh, wow. So it creates a unilateral friendship.
Exactly. It creates deep emotional loyalty. He pairs the ultimate unreachable summit of his athletic prowess with the highly relatable reality of just, sitting around a dinner table.
It humanizes the Titan.
It does. It makes him real.
And I imagine that parasocial trust is exactly what makes the fourth pillar, the brand endorsements, so incredibly lucrative.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because if the audience views him as both an aspirational god and a familiar friend, they aren't going to process a post about a watch or a nutritional supplement as some intrusive advertisement.
Right. The commercial aspects become deeply, seamlessly woven into the narrative.
Yeah.
They act as props in the ongoing reality show of his lifestyle. You are being sold a product. You are being invited to participate in the lifestyle of someone you admire and actually feel connected to.
That's wild.
The family pillar provides the trust, the training pillar provides the authority, and the match updates provide the global visibility. The brand endorsements simply harvest the value generated by those other three.
It is an absolute masterclass in behavioral engineering and content diversification.
It really is.
But, the source material takes this analysis a step further in its conclusion. It moves away from just marketing strategy and dives into, well, philosophy.
Yeah, the ending of the report is really compelling.
Because it suggests that this meticulous four-pillar digital architecture isn't just a clever scheme cooked up by some slick PR agency.
No, it's deeper than that.
The report states that he built this empire exactly like his career by, and I'm quoting here, completely refusing to settle for anything but discipline and excellence.
The digital output is just a direct reflection of his internal psychology. The macro reflects the micro.
Let's examine that final line of the report because it's really striking. It says, the record is his. He holds it without apology.
Without apology, yeah.
What does it actually mean to hold a digital record without apology in today's culture?
It's a great point because it's rare.
Right. Most celebrities perform a kind of calculated indifference regarding their follower counts.
Oh, totally. I never check my phone, right?
Exactly. They claim their team handles it, or they treat social media as this superficial annoyance. Is he openly acknowledging that digital dominance is a vital part of his legacy?
I think so, yes. See, that performed indifference most celebrities do. That's a defense mechanism.
How?
Because true, sustained effort is exhausting, and it leaves you incredibly vulnerable to criticism.
Oh, right. If you try hard and fail, it's embarrassing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is much safer to pretend you aren't trying than to try your absolute hardest and still fail.
Yeah.
But what this report is highlighting is that in the physical sporting world, at that elite level, false humility is a massive liability.
That's true. You can't fake it on the pitch.
Right. You cannot become the best in the world while pretending you don't care about winning. You must declare your intention to dominate, and then you have to execute it publicly.
And he has taken that exact athletic mindset, that unapologetic, open desire to dominate, and he's applied it directly to the digital space.
He has literally industrialized his own personality.
Wow.
Think about the discipline required to maintain those four content pillars over decades without ever breaking character or abandoning the strategy. It's a mess.
Decades of consistency.
It requires the same early mornings, the same rigorous repetition, and the same absolute refusal to accept subpar performance that a professional athlete applies to their diet and training.
So the digital avatar is basically treated with the exact same extreme reverence as the physical body.
Because he realized a fundamental truth of the 21st century long before many of his peers did.
Which is,
The digital avatar is actually the primary asset.
wait, really? Over the football?
At this point, yes. The physical sport, as massive as it is, acts as the marketing engine that feeds the avatar.
That is a crazy paradigm shift.
To hold the record without apology is to look at the global digital landscape and essentially say, I treated this with the same brutal discipline I treated football, and I earned this reach.
That reframes every single post on his feed for me.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it isn't just a casual photo. It is a meticulously placed brick in an empire built on relentless, unapologetic discipline.
It forces us to really respect the medium.
It does.
We so often dismiss social media as frivolous, but when it's wielded with this level of architectural precision, it becomes one of the most powerful tools of cultural and economic leverage in human history.
Okay, so let's distill this and bring it back to you listening to us right now.
Yeah, how does this apply?
Because the takeaway from today's deep dive isn't just a staggering multi-platform numbers game or, some motivational platitude about working hard.
No, it's way more practical than that.
It's about the industrialization of your own professional brand. We all operate within our own networks, managing our own avatars, right? Whether that's for a small business, a corporate career, or even just a personal creative project.
The framework translates perfectly to literally any scale.
Exactly. So ask yourself, are you treating your professional presence with intention, or are you performing that safe, calculated indifference we talked about?
Are you pretending not to care?
Right. And are you balancing the aspirational quality of your work, your own training and match updates, so to speak, with the relatable human elements that build genuine trust?
It really is about applying a structured, unapologetic discipline to how you present your value to the world.
It requires deciding what your own 4 pillars are and then having the discipline to never abandon them.
That's the key. Refusing to settle.
But before we completely wrap up this analysis, there is one final, really provocative question that arises from this report.
Oh, yeah. This is the big unknown.
Right. This unprecedented digital conglomerate was built largely alongside and fueled by his active athletic career.
Mm-hmm.
Those training sessions and those match updates, they are the high-octane fuel for the entire machine.
They give it the momentum.
So what happens when the physical career inevitably reaches its conclusion?
It's going to be fascinating.
When the match updates cease, will this unapologetic drive for excellence allow him to transition this global attention into a new iteration? Or will the empire fundamentally change shape without the sport?
Navigating that transition, going from an active athlete to a pure digital entity that will be the ultimate stress test of his entire architecture.
We might literally be about to witness a digital evolution the world has never seen before.
I'll certainly be watching.
Same here. It's going to be fascinating to watch unfold. Well, thank you for sending in this excerpt and joining us on this exploration today.
It was a great read.
Keep analyzing your sources, keep questioning the mechanics behind the media we consume, and we will be here to help you unpack it all.
Until next time.
Next time you look at a massive stadium, just remember, 21 years of attention in a single second. See you on the next deep dive.